Today, we're diving into a fascinating contest, a real showdown between poetry and processing power. In one corner, you've got the soul of a celebrated poet, and in the other, two of the biggest AI giants out there, ChatGPT and Gemini, battling it out over the art of translation. Let's see how they do. But this isn't really just about turning words from one language into another. We're asking a much bigger question here. Can a machine actually translate the heart, the history, the music of a poem? It's a huge challenge that goes way beyond just technical stuff. And the answer? Well, it has some pretty big implications for the future of AI in any creative field. And for our test case, we've picked the perfect challenge. Faiz, he wasn't just any poet. His work is this incredible tapestry of political resistance, cultural identity, and just beautiful flowing melody. Honestly, trying to translate Faiz is kind of like trying to describe the taste of a really complex spice. Sure, you can list the ingredients, but can you really capture the experience? So let's meet our contenders. In this showdown, we have two very distinct AIs, and each one has a totally different approach to cracking this poetic code. Right here, you can see their fundamental fighting styles, so to speak. Think of ChatGPT as the pragmatist, right? Its main goal is crystal clear meaning, even if it has to sacrifice the original rhythm to get there. Gemini, on the other hand, is more of a purist. It wants to keep the poem's musical soul intact, even if that makes the sentences a little more complex. All right, time for round one. Here we're going to see how each AI handles rhythm and flow. This is all about the sound, the beat, that musical quality that makes a poem feel almost like a song. Okay, so listen to ChatGPT's version of a key line that repeats throughout the poem. But there are other griefs in the world besides love. I mean, it's clear, it's direct, but it feels like prose, doesn't it? The original has this incredible chant-like quality, a poetic echo, and that's just gone. The repetition just becomes a simple statement. Now, Gemini takes a completely different road. It works really hard to keep the original stanza structure and even adds some internal rhymes. It feels less like a flat statement and way more like that prophetic cadence of the original poem. Yeah, the lines might be a little longer, but the poetry, that echo, it's still there. On to round two. And this is where things get really intense. We're moving past just the sound, and we're diving deep into the poem's powerful and often violent political heart, its metaphors. So check this out, because this is where the core difference between the two AIs just becomes so clear. Faiz uses this brutal, powerful image of disease as a furnace of oppression. It's a potent symbol of systemic decay. ChatGPT? It softens it completely to bodies decay under illness, which just flattens the metaphor. But Gemini? It goes with flesh emerging from the furnaces of disease, keeping all of that raw, politically charged imagery from the original. Here's the bottom line. One AI gives you the information, the other one delivers the impact. And now, for the final round. This might be the biggest challenge of all. This is the fight for the poem's cultural soul. The big question is, can an AI understand not just the words, but the entire world behind them? The AIs take two totally opposite strategies here. ChatGPT kind of domesticates the poem. It swaps out culturally specific terms for generic English ones. This makes the poem maybe more accessible to a global audience, but it loses its cultural roots. Gemini does the exact opposite. It foreignizes. It keeps the original terms, which preserves the poem's unique texture, and, it forces the reader to meet the poem on its own turf. Okay, the rounds are over, the arguments have been made. It's time to go to the final scorecard and see how our contenders officially stack up. So, the final scorecard reveals a really fascinating split. When it comes to preserving that challenging political imagery and the poem's musical refrain, the win clearly goes to Gemini. It's all about poetic integrity. But when it comes to pure, simple readability, making the poem easy to understand on the first try, well, ChatGPT definitely comes out on top. So what's the ultimate verdict? Well, here's the thing. There isn't one. There's no single winner here. Because this was never just about which AI is better. What this whole thing shows us is that the real question is about us, the readers. What do we actually want from a translation? Do we want absolute clarity, or do we want cultural authenticity? And that leaves us with one last thing to chew on. As AI gets more and more tangled up in our creative lives, what role do we really want it to play? Do we want it to be a perfectly clear window, something that shows us a simple, easy-to-digest version of the world? Or do we want it to be a colorful, complex filter, one that preserves all the unique textures and perspectives of the original art. The choice, in the end, is going to be ours.